Christine, and I work for Teacher Created Materials. I am so excited to be reading you one of my favorite books from our Math Readers series called STEM Building Tiny Houses, Compose and Decompose Shapes. So let us get started reading this awesome book. This book is authored by Georgia Beth. And here you can see a picture of a super cute tiny house on our table of contents. Home sweet home. People say that home is where the heart is. That means that they do not need a big house if they live with the people they love. In fact, some people like to live in tiny houses. A tiny house looks like a regular house, but it is much smaller. Most tiny houses are less than 20 feet or 6 meters long. That is about the size of a large living room. It may seem small, but tiny house owners feel right at home in these little spaces. Here's a picture of a tiny house. And builders use plans called blueprints to design buildings. Tiny house, big idea. Living in tiny houses gives people a chance to live big lives. Small homes cost less. They create less waste too. So tiny house owners can live where land costs more. Many choose to live near nature. Others use their money to travel. Some people even bring their houses with them. Some tiny house owners choose to live by the ocean. Wow, what a view this tiny house has. And this tiny house can sleep up to 8 people. Wow. Building the basics. People save money by buying tiny houses. They can save even more if they build their own house. When people build their own houses, they can choose what they want to put in each room. As they build, they think of ways to make their small spaces feel huge. People work together to build a tiny house. All throughout this book, you'll find let's explore math problems. So to keep the story flowing, we're going to skip these for now and come back to them later. Tiny house builders must make a lot of choices. First, they have to choose which materials to use. Should the house be made of wood? What about a house made of glass? What shape will the house be? A-frame houses have triangles in their designs. Cottage designs use squares. Some houses have walls shaped like long rectangles. Builders must leave room for a lot of windows. Being able to see outside makes a tiny house seem bigger. And this tiny house is made of wood. After they build the outside of a house, builders look at floor plans. These plans show where each room will go. They show builders the shape of each room, and builders make sure all the pieces of a tiny house fit together. They try new things. Will a triangle sink make up less room than a square sink? Can the bed be round? The answers to questions like these help builders decide what to do. This floor plan shows the different areas of a tiny house. And 2 builders plan where to hammer a nail. Tiny houses are not long or wide, but they can be tall. High ceilings and second floors add space. Shelves and loft bedrooms give a lot of options for a small space. Some tiny houses have ladders to the lofts. Tiny house owners cannot build out, so they have to think of new ways to build up. A man sits in his loft bedroom. Being creative is part of the fun of living in a tiny house. People might store tools under the stairs. They might store their clothes under the beds. They might use their beds as chairs. They might even put windows in their roofs if there's enough space, if there's not enough space on the walls. That way, they can let in daylight and look at the stars at night. This bed has hidden storage and can be pushed under the kitchen floor. This man's tiny home has a TV room below his office and bedroom. Making it your own. Many tiny house owners have never lived in such a small space. They may not know where to start. Designers can help. They make sure the house is built just the way owners want it. Designers can make houses permanent, or they can help owners take their houses on the road. That way, they can always have a roof over their heads. This house was built on a rock in the middle of a river. Wowee. Designers do not just work on the outside of houses. They can make the insides look great too. Many designers start by asking what owners like to do. Then they make space for the owner's hobbies. If owners like to paint, they can ask for a shelf for their paints. If they like to watch TV, they can hide their TVs behind sliding walls. These small changes can make a house feel like a home. This tiny house has a TV that can be hidden when not in use. This tiny house has shelves for storage. Smart or strange? Living in a tiny house means finding new ways to solve problems. Some people add fabric to the inside of their walls. That helps keep houses warm. Some people add solar panels or gardens to their roofs. That way they can use the sun to light their houses and grow food. A tiny house with solar panels. And here's a diagram that shows how the solar panels work. The sun's rays hit the solar panels. Solar panels change the sun's energy into electricity. Electricity can be used in the home or sent to power lines for other people to use. People use light colors to make houses look bigger. Light things such as white walls and chairs can make houses feel less tiny. Black will make rooms feel small. So most people do not use a lot of dark colors. Some people get creative and paint rainbows on their walls. One trick is to make the walls round. Then tiny house owners will not feel like they live in small boxes. White walls are common in tiny houses. Welcome home. Could you live in a tiny house? Would you take it on the road, or would you set up your home next to a lake? With a tiny house, you can live any place you want. You can spend the summer by the beach, then you can move to the mountains when it gets cold. Not everyone will like living in a tiny house, but if you design, plan, and build it the way you want, your tiny house might be your dream house. This tiny house is on wheels so the owners can move wherever they want. This tiny house in Germany has a ladder to reach the bedroom. All right, so let's go back and solve some of these Let's Explore math problems. On page 9, let's explore math. Imagine new owners of a tiny house are decorating. The owners of the house have a footrest shaped like a cube. They want to make a new covering for it by sewing together fabric squares. How many squares do they need to use to cover all sides? How do you know? A window in the house is shaped like a triangle. The owners want to hang a straight curtain rod across it. They want the window to be divided into a trapezoid and a smaller triangle. Draw a triangle similar to the one below. Show where the owner should hang the curtain rod. Page 13. The builder of a tiny house is ready to tile the kitchen floor. The floor is a rectangle. 1. Draw a rectangle similar to the one below. Show how the builder can use square tiles to cover the floor. 2. The owners of the house changed their mind. They want the kitchen floor to be covered in rectangles instead of squares. Draw another rectangle. Show how the builder can use rectangle tiles to cover the floor. Page 15. A builder installs shelves that look like hexagons. The owners want the shelves divided into display units. Number 1, draw a hexagon similar to those shown. Show how it can be divided into trapezoids. Number 2, the owners want to see other ideas. Draw another hexagon. Show how it can be divided into triangles. Number 3, how can the builder divide a hexagon into a combination of triangles and trapezoids? Draw to show your solution. Page 19. Imagine you are a tiny house designer. The homeowners want a big window in their living room. 1. How many square pieces of glass make up the window? 2. What is the shape of the large window formed by the square pieces of glass? And finally, on pages 28 and 29, we have a problem solving. So imagine you are planning to build a tiny house. You have chosen the shape of each room. Now you need to fit the rooms together to make floor plans. Use the shapes shown to answer the prompts below for your tiny house. Number 1, the first floor of your house will be a rectangle. Draw a rectangular floor plan using the kitchen, bathroom, workspace, and closet. Number 2, the bedroom will be a second floor loft. A, name the shape of the bedroom floor. B, the bedroom will be divided into 3 areas, 1 for sleeping, 1 for reading, and 1 for working on the computer. Show a way to divide the space into 3 shapes and name each shape. Number 3, the rooftop will feature a garden. A, name the shape of the garden. And B, the garden will have plots for vegetables and flowers. Show a way to divide the floor plan into 2 square plots for vegetables and 2 triangle plots for flowers. And that's it for exploring math and looking at tiny houses. Thank you so much for joining in this reading with me. I had such an awesome time, and I hope you enjoyed this book. Thanks. Bye.